Well, hello, friends and family. I need to talk to you about the Sony ZV1. Now, if you're thinking this is some sort of review, I guess in some weird way it is, but if you're looking for me to go through menus or compare this to other cameras or whatever else people do with camera reviews, you're probably going to be wildly disappointed. Not even just a little bit disappointed. You might end up sobbing, you might end up pulling your own hair, I don't know, because I don't really know anything about doing a review like that, and I don't think they're very interesting. So all I'm gonna say, if you have a super short attention span and you're already frustrated with me, then I'm just gonna say, this camera works and it works for exactly what I bought it for. And if you are on the fence about getting it because you're wondering whether or not it works, just know it works. But I'm gonna give you a couple of things here to give you a little more detail if your attention span is a little bit longer and you wanna know a little bit more details. Now, I'm using the camera right now to do this film, but I've made some handy, convenient still frames of what I'm gonna talk about for your viewing pleasure. So why did I get this camera? Well, because my life is not entirely mine. I work full-time for a brand, in this case, it would be Blurb, and I have demands put on me because of my job. And so I have to have a specific set of tools that allow me to create the kinds of things I need to deliver for my job. I also try then to take those same tools and adapt them to my personal life so that my skill set is expanding, especially during a time of COVID where we have time. I'm at home more than I've ever been. That's probably my mom calling. I'm not gonna answer. She's called me twice today. What's the problem? She spent 51 years with me. Can't believe it. Anyway, I try to take what I learned in my professional life, use it in my personal life. I had a hole in the equipment that I had. I needed something small, stabilized, and handheld. I didn't have it. Fuji didn't really make anything like that, and so I had to look elsewhere, and Sony was great. And so I talked to some folks at Sony, they gave me some great information, and I was able to sort of steer towards this particular camera and the Bluetooth remote control that came with it. All right, thank God. She'll keep calling me. I'm not kidding. My mom is mystified by the iPhone, mystified by anything with technology, but man, does she know how to hit that call button. It is relentless. If it goes more than 90 seconds without her calling back, I'll be amazed. And it's probably about something we already talked about today. That's my guess. So that was what it is. I needed something, I didn't have it, I filled a need, boom, that's it, I move on. I learned very quickly that the camera works perfectly for what I got it for, and I've been using it every single day. I also have an X-T4 Fuji on order with the booster, extra batteries, battery charger, and I think I'm gonna get a 16 to 80 because I'm using that. I'm very excited actually to get the X-T4 as well because it's also hand-holdable with the IBIS and with the stabilizer built into the lens, apparently it's really good. And my X-T2s are fine for stills, but they're lacking a little bit in the video department. So again, that's gotta be her. I'll be back. It was her. And here's the best part. So I told you 90 seconds goes by, she's gonna keep calling until I pick up the phone. Nothing will stop her. She's like a Cat 5 hurricane in the warm Gulf water. She's unstoppable. And when I finally picked it up and said, hello, she goes, did you call me? Yeah, that's my life. I told you my life's not my own. It belongs to all these other people. The X-T4 is coming. I'm excited about it. It's also gonna fill a need I don't have. And I've talked to a bunch of people that have that camera. It's pretty good. I'm not saying it's perfect. I don't know, I'll figure it out, it works. And I also have a drone, which I flew for the first time yesterday. Don't judge me. I have a drone and I have a van and it does not look good in terms of my life right now, but that's the fact. And I flew it and didn't crash it. And I have to say, flying the drone was a blast. It was so much fun. I put myself in a place where it was impossible for me to do any damage to anyone or anything. It was great. I love it. There'll be much more on that. You'll probably get sick of that, in fact. Okay, let me talk about a couple things about this camera, the Sony ZV1. Number one is the size. The thing literally, and I mean literally, fits in the palm of my hand. The problem I have is I use two different kinds of backpacks. I use a Tenba backpack system and I use an Atlas backpack system, and I use them for different things. If I have heavy lifting up in the mountains or I'm really gonna be on my feet for a long time and I'm out in the wilds, I use the Atlas pack because it's built like a mountaineering pack and it carries incredibly well. The Tenba is more of my travel urban, multiple sets of gear backpack, and I love both of these systems. I've been using them for a long time. Whatever I needed, whatever I got in terms of my small portable camera had to be tiny, and the Sony fills that bill very well. The Sony also has a built-in mic that comes with a little dead cat, dead rat, whatever you want to call it, in the hot shoe. It's a pretty slick system. As with all other cameras, the built-in mic is okay, it's not great. I much prefer to use these Rode mics, and you can also get a little shotgun mic that fits in there. I have learned, however, and this is my next point, is I don't like on-camera vlogging. I don't like holding a camera and filming myself. Number one, I feel like a complete tool. There's no other way of saying it. I feel awful when I'm doing that, and I don't like it, and I hope we'll never do it again. I don't mind sitting here or sitting in another location with mics and actually speaking into the camera like this, but when I'm in the field and I'm holding it, if anyone sees me, the cringe factor is horrible. It starts at my low back, goes up my spine, out my shoulders, into my neck, and then into my jaw. And my jaw like locks up and I go, oh my God, I'm one of those people. So I'm not gonna use it for that. I could, because it is stabilized enough and the lens is wide enough for me to do that. Speaking of stabilization, it's stabilized. But here's what I've also learned in the last couple of months, is when I got the Sony, I figured I would use it a lot, not facing me, I would use it facing into the world, and I would do pans and I would do zooms, because the Bluetooth remote controller has this really awesome set of functions. I can use it to take stills, I can start and stop my video, I can move the camera, I can set up a custom function menu, all this stuff with the Bluetooth remote. The problem is, I don't like panning. I don't like the look of it. And I don't like zooming. It looks cheesy to me. The stabilization of the camera has actually become a little bit less important, but I love the little tripod because it is so tiny and it fits in all of my packs. So remember, I'm cycling, I'm hiking, I'm fishing, etc. I cannot carry big bulky equipment. I have a gimbal that works unbelievably well, but the gimbal is also this big and also has to be charged. And so it's a little tricky to carry all this stuff. So the Sony is teaching me about filmmaking in a very short amount of time, which is wonderful. I mentioned the Bluetooth remote. I'll show you a handy picture of it right now. It works fantastically. The camera, I've done some testing. I shoot everything on 1080. I don't have any need for 4K, but to test it out, I did a couple of sequences in 4K. There's one sequence in my last film, Everyday Expedition, that's a 4K sequence. I could not believe how good it looked. And the crazy thing is, you're looking at this camera that's this big, and it's producing this 4K footage stabilized. And I was like, oh my God, this looks incredible. I know why people shoot 4K. I just don't have the need for it. I don't want to take the space, and my computer freezes up every time I basically try to do anything in 4K that's sizable. I just have an old laptop. Okay, Sony takes a beating for their menus, and I was prepared for the worst, and Fuji menus to me are the best menus out there. They're the most logical, the simplest, the easiest to get through. Sony's are a bit more complicated, but here's the thing. On the back of the camera, there's this little function button that brings up a set of commonly used items on your camera. All cameras have these things now. I basically took the 6 things that I use the most, which is number 1 is formatting the memory card. And I put them all in a menu that I can access from the Bluetooth controller, and I haven't been back in the menu since then. So why people freak out about Sony menus, I'm not entirely sure. And with this camera, again, how many times do I need to change the settings? I use the neutral density filter. I'll turn this image stabilization from like normal to high. I do use that. That's all in that quick menu. I don't have to go back in the menus again. If I never go in the menus again, as long as I own this camera, I would not be surprised. Number 9, cost. This was dirt cheap, in my opinion. Any camera that's under $1,000, a camera and a remote and all these tools that under $1,000, and a camera that will take my Rode mic system that has the jack and everything involved, I was like, I didn't even think about it. I just bought it. So that's a pretty good deal. And remember, all of these cameras are temporary. And so you've got to look at your ROI and your cost per unit and all that kind of stuff. And so it worked for me. And again, the last thing I'll say is it just fits into my system. Again, I'm adding an X-T4, I'm adding a drone, I'm adding all these other things because of the demands on me right now, but the Sony has been wonderful. And by the way, I'm not really sure, I haven't heard anything about the battery life. I have 3 batteries with this camera because I was planning for the worst. I thought the batteries would probably suck because the camera's so small and the battery would have to be tiny. I've never used a full battery. So even on the Everyday Expedition, when I was using the camera on and off for an entire day at a time, I would plug it into a 10,000 milliamp battery at night to recharge it, but I never went through a full battery. And I have 3 total, and I'm, maybe at some point if I'm lucky and I have enough time, I'll be able to burn 3 batteries in one day. Don't know. That's my take on the Sony. If you're on the fence about it, I would definitely investigate because it's worthwhile. I know there's a lot of small vlogging cameras, but Sony is kicking ass right now in terms of their camera equipment and their take on the entire industry. Well done, Sony, and that's it. Now go use your own camera. Bye.